Dude, they're going to give Khamzat the title shot for sure. He's fought less 85ers than me.
Eyes have become very interesting to me.
Are you coffeeed up right now?
No, but I feel like I should.
Yeah.
My favorite bone in the body is called the sphenoid bone, which looks like a butterfly.
Walk down the boardwalk, Jersey Shore. They're wearing a wife beater and shorts and Timbs. I'm like,
Those are the good ones.
y'all want that stake money? Betr is the simplest way to play daily fantasy and win big on your favorite players. NFL, NBA, NHL, and more. There are 3 simple steps for playing better picks. 1, pick 2 or more players. 2, pick more or less. 3, win big. Use code BO and download Betr now.
Welcome to Nickels and Dimes. We have a guest today. Man who cracks backs. Fills up people's cups. But we got Dr. Ed Camacho here today.
Let's go.
Chiropractor out of Summit Chiropractic. Works on Bo. He's worked on me. And we're just going to sit down, have a great conversation. So, how we doing?
I appreciate it, buddy. Appreciate all you guys.
Yeah.
It's kind of exciting.
We were, so obviously most of the time we do this podcast, it's just us 3. And I was getting a little sick of them. So I was like, you know, who do I know that's good vibes, that I have good conversations with and stuff? And
Damn,
I was like,
no pressure.
This is perfect, you know? But yeah, appreciate you coming on, hanging out with us, talking up with us, chatting it up. So
Yeah, when you hit me up, I was like, they had Brooks on, and I don't think I've seen anybody else. So I was like a little nervous trying to like get a vibe of like what was going on. But
right.
Now I find out I'm number 3.
Number 3, yeah. So we had Johnny Drinks, we had Brooks, and now you're number 3.
It's a good lineup.
It is a good lineup. Yeah.
2 guys from Jersey.
Yeah.
That's a good ratio.
There's a heavy Jersey influence on this podcast.
Yeah.
And I feel like, you know, for me, just living with Tony for as long as I have, being around you, like I'm around Jersey people a lot.
Yeah, he's like 40% Jerseyan right now.
Well,
Osmosis.
He's been in Jersey more than Wyoming or Texas the last 5 years.
That's true. But I will say that I feel like y'all two, there's really not that many cool people from New Jersey. Like,
Wait, time out.
Always says this.
like I'll be honest, like 95% of the people I meet, I'm like, But like you, Johnny, and Anthony, I'm like, all right, I don't get, like, I guess there has to be some outliers somewhere, right? So
I think you're hanging out with the wrong people.
Yeah.
maybe, but I've said I hang out with a lot of people, and y'all 3 are like pretty much the only cool people I've met. Now there's a couple more, but there's a lot of people out there that just sketch me out a little bit.
Yeah, there's a mixed bag, but
Tony knows what I'm talking about.
It's a mixing pot.
Yeah,
There's a lot. There's a lot going on over there.
Yeah, the guys
sure.
that, you know, walk down the boardwalk, Jersey Shore, they're wearing a wife beater and shorts and Timbs. I'm like,
those are the good ones.
I mean, if they have a chain on and a good fade, they're acceptable.
all right, that's I agree with that.
Yeah.
For sure.
I like that.
Dude,
Second.
let's start off with, let's talk about that one.
Okay.
So Mike, I don't know if it's Mallot or Mallot. Do you know?
Mallot. That's how I've been saying it.
Mike Mallot. So, bro, great first round.
Yeah.
Just teep to the knee, calf kick, just like eating his legs up, landed a couple good shots, didn't even get touched, dominating. I'm like, oh, dang, this dude's the real deal. Second round, does pretty well. Not as dominant as the first, but like dominates the guy.
Mm-hmm.
Almost gets a mount at the end of the second round and probably could have finished him if there would have been more time left. Dude, third round. So he has, I think all his wins are finishes. And so he was like talking about that in the pre-fight and stuff. So I could tell it was on his mind. Like he was like, I have to finish this guy. I have to finish this guy. And so he like went super hard for the finish and got so tired. And with about maybe a minute left, maybe a little over a minute, Magny reversed him. And the dude went for like a heel hook. He was trying to like kind of like mess around with leg locks. And Magny just starts teeing off on him. And he like kind of is like stuck, getting teed off on. And then time's ticking down and Magny gets him bellied out, like double boots in, and is just hitting him. And I'm like, oh my gosh, they have to stop it. 12 seconds left. They stopped the fight. After he dominated, probably 14 minutes. It was wild, bro.
Devastating.
Yeah, and he literally, after he got TKO'd, he rolled on his back and he laid there for like 10 minutes. They couldn't get up. I felt so tough. Yeah, I didn't feel bad for him, but I was like, oh, that's rough.
Was he having like a good run? Like he's undefeated?
He's undefeated in the UFC, all finishes. He has like 5 finishes in a row.
That's rough.
Yeah.
Poor guy.
I know.
Neil Magny probably 45 years old.
Yeah, Magny's
still
got to
out
do
there.
that too. He's always
He is.
pulling off those things.
It was crazy too. Like, it was literally not competitive. Not at all. And then all of a sudden he knew too.
Yeah.
He was like, this is my chance. And he went so ham.
Dang.
Yeah. It was wild.
But good for him, though. Good for
I
him.
guess, yeah. I don't really personally know either of these guys, so
He got
doesn't really-
dominated by Ian Gary and then
Yeah.
was getting
The
dominated.
only difference that Ian Gary just finished. He just knew how to finish the fight, as far as
Right.
like not finish the fight in like a
Pacing wise, yeah.
yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
like to get through the fight without getting himself in danger.
Yeah.
And, dude, that's what people don't realize in MMA. The biggest weapon out of anything is cardio. It's the biggest. It's the most important thing.
Yeah.
Wrestling, jiu-jitsu, knockout power, whatever. It's cardio. Cardio is the most important thing in MMA,
Yeah,
for sure.
100%.
Yeah.
Not that I would know.
Now you wouldn't.
Not
Ron's
that-
like, yep.
100%.
Yep.
Like,
Yeah, I
I've been
agree.
telling you guys this
I
for
can-
a while now.
I can
so-
attest to that. I can attest to
I was
that.
like, Tony, hop on the treadmill.
Yeah.
He's running now. The next one up there, let's skip over the Mayra Buena Silva against Raquel Pennington. I got that completely wrong too.
That fight was rough.
That was a rough fight.
Yeah, that one was rough.
Yeah. Let's just cut to Sean Strickland against Dricus du Plessis. What
Oh
happened?
yeah.
How'd you score it?
I had it 3-2 Sean. Did you watch the fight?
Yeah.
I thought Sean won 1, 2, and 5. I felt like 2 was the most questionable round to me. It really could have gone either way, but I felt like Sean edged him out, and I think he clearly won 1 and clearly won 5. I think Dricus clearly won 3 and 4. So it was it was basically exactly as I said. A lot of people were asking me, "Oh, how's the fight going to go? Who's going to win?" I was like, "Dude, this is a 50-50 fight. This is like as 50-50 as it gets, as far as I'm concerned, because I don't see Sean is not like a knockout power guy. He doesn't have takedowns. He's going to come out. He's going to teep you. He's going to box you and teep. He's going to box and teep and have good defense, and he's going to try to pressure you a little bit. Dricus has a little more, what's the right word? Firepower, I guess. He's got a little more wilder shots. He has a little more power. Throws more varied attack, has some takedowns, and they're two tough guys. So both guys came in good shape. I think Strickland definitely didn't put the pace on that he normally does for whatever reason. I don't know. Maybe it's the pressure of being champion. Maybe it's just, he didn't have a good camp, whatever it is. Like, I don't know why, but he didn't have that pace that he normally has.
Were there any takedowns?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I think
3?
three. There was takedowns in 2, 3, and 4. There was
Yeah.
at least 3 takedowns, 3
Okay.
or 4. Dricus took him down. He never held him down for very long, but I think in 3 and 4 he had a little more control.
He had 2. He went 6 for 9 on takedowns.
It's 6
I believe.
takedowns. So
6
I didn't.
takedowns.
A couple of them, we just like, well, a couple of those takedowns, they were mat returns. They
Okay.
count as takedowns.
Yeah.
It was like Sean stood up, he brought him back down. That's not technically a
Got
takedown.
it.
So I think it was 3 or 4. But yeah, I mean, no real control, but those score when it's a close fight.
Important.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I thought one thing was interesting is that Sean went away from the teep in rounds 2,
Yeah,
3,
he
and
stopped.
4.
He stopped
Stopped
teeping
doing
him.
it for
Yeah,
some
you're right.
reason. And then I also thought it was super interesting. I've never seen it before as a fighter, like literally taking someone down just to take them down for like 4 seconds. And then
When he let him up.
Yeah, Dricus didn't do anything on the ground. That's why I don't think he should have won. Because there wasn't like any advancement on the ground. Like he just took him down to take him down. Like,
Yeah, I mean, I think, you can look at it 2 ways. One, you can look at it as a fight. Okay, this is a fight. So, okay, he took him down, pop back up. Oh, that's nothing. Or you can look at it as this is a sport. This is MMA. Takedowns
Right.
are part of the sport.
Get points.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
points, right? Like on the judges' scorecards, right? So I think of it more in the sporting sense because those are, I think, the rules that we're under are a part of the scoring system. It's, effective striking, effective defense, cage control, takedowns. Like that's part of the scoring system. So I see that does it score as much as if he takes him down, holds him down and lands some shots? No. And some of the but I do see like precedent on that scoring, if that makes sense.
And he knew that. Like he was talking about it in the post fighter. Like he knew he wanted to sneak in a couple just to get the points on the judges.
I do think that in round 2, that Sean's striking was more effective overall than the takedowns that Dricus got. That's why I give him round 2 because I feel like overall he was more effective in the round when you look at everything. right? Like if Dricus, the takedown is valuable, but it's not as valuable as if you're getting beat up in the strikes.
Right.
And I feel like he was losing the striking, and he got one takedown with limited control. You can lose the striking if you get a takedown and a lot of control. If you get a minute, 2 minutes, 3 minutes of control, especially towards the end of the round, yeah, you won the round. But you lose the striking battle, you take a guy down, he's up in 15 seconds. That doesn't really mean you win the round to me.
From my perspective, when I was watching, and I don't study MMA, Strickland looked like he was fighting to not lose.
Yeah.
And I feel like when you look at his previous match or his previous fight, and he got the championship, he wanted to win. Like, he was hungry. Yeah. And not that he wasn't, but because every punch he threw, he landed. Yeah. And they were solid hits.
Right.
And it's almost like, how did this guy not fall? But then you have the other guy, Dricus. So he was hungry the whole time.
Way hungrier.
Like, he was throwing crazy punches.
That was definitely the most apparent
craziest
thing.
Positions.
Right.
Like, and from my perspective, I'm on my couch thinking, this guy wants to win. This guy's fighting not to lose.
Yep.
And the outcome was the outcome.
Yeah.
I
see that a lot.
100% agree with that. Sean did not fight the way that he fought Adesanya at all. He's always pressure forward. He was not the pressure guy. You know, there was a couple of instances where he was pressuring him, but he was on the back foot for the most part of the fight. I think he's still, again, round 5, he
picked it up.
He picked it up a little bit, but
sure.
He didn't look like he had that cardio that he normally has either. I was really surprised.
Yeah, I mean, we've seen the story over and over again. His next fight, he'll probably look back to normal, like fearless and hungry again, and then we'll see if he gets the title back. Who are they going to do now? Because I see Dana said they're probably not going to do the rematch.
I think Dricus wants Adesanya.
Yeah,
so
he comes back.
Yeah, that's what he said. That was his call out. It was Adesanya, or it could be Khamzat.
Oh yeah,
they've been talking about giving Khamzat the title, but Khamzat's been hurt. He's been sick. He's messed up in the hospital. Broke his hand. All this crazy stuff. And so I don't know. I mean, other guys that are coming up in 85, there's really not that many guys. I don't even know who's like really getting up there that could fight for the belt.
Yeah.
At 85. Again, there's good guys, but
a lot of guys are phasing out.
Not very many win streaks. Yeah, not very many guys that are really, putting themselves in that position. But I would guess that they do Adesanya. Dude, they're gonna give Khamzat the title shot for sure at some point. I don't think that he's gonna have to fight again till he gets the title shot. Do I think he deserves that? No, he hasn't fought a single 85er. He's fought less 85ers than me. My guys aren't even on the roster anymore. My opponents aren't even on the roster anymore.
That's getting clipped.
Yeah, bro.
Yeah, no, in 85, it's literally like you look down it. It's Whitaker, Cannonier, Marvin Vittori, Paulo Costa, Brendan Allen.
Brendan Allen's won a few in a row, I think, but he's not deserving of a title shot.
Costa and who are fighting?
Costa and Whitaker.
This next card, right?
Yeah, but I don't think either of those guys gets a title shot off this win.
No.
Whitaker just lost to Plesis, and Costa beat Luke Rockhold in his last fight, I think. But he hasn't fought in 2 years.
Yeah, it's supposed to be Khamzat, but
yeah, he was supposed to fight Khamzat. If Khamzat would have beat Costa, then it's easy, no problem. But he beat Usman, who's 170, and had 5 days to get ready. So I don't know that he deserves a title shot, but again, it would be a good fight. I would like to see it. I don't know.
Yeah. Last thing I wanted to talk about with the Strickland against Duplessis fight is the headbutt that caused Sean to really get broken open.
Yeah.
I don't know how I really feel. I think that he used it as a really big excuse right after the fight, which is totally fair, and I understand that. But also, he kept going.
So this is what I think. One, he was bleeding a lot.
Yeah.
It was a good cut.
What round?
It was
third round,
third or fourth.
Middle, third.
Yeah, third round. So he was bleeding a lot, and that's not fun. But I definitely think that with that being one of the first things he said in his interview, that was in his mind in the fight, which if you're there to win, that doesn't matter. You get a cut on the eye. A great example is the last Bellator title with Johnny Eblen when he fought Fabian Edwards. Johnny's cut was terrible. It was one of the worst cuts I've ever seen. Yeah. And he knew he had to go out there and knock him out. Even though he was winning the fight pretty clearly, pretty easily, Johnny went out and he didn't give a crap that he had a cut. He just went out to win. And I think that when your first answer out of your interview is, man, if I didn't have this cut on my eye from that headbutt, dude, it's a fight. Like, it's going to happen. You know, that to me says that he was thinking about that in the fight. That affected his performance. It's just, and at the end of the day, I'm not going to like, oh, you're wrong, you shouldn't do that. It's like, just this is a good learning lesson. You know, like, it's a fight. Like, you know, things are going to happen. You get headbutted, whatever. Like, you're there to win. So don't let that sway your focus from what you need to do, and don't have it already in your mind as a built-in, excuse. Is it a legitimate excuse? Maybe, yeah, it could have had a big effect on the fight, but at the end of the day,
no one cares.
No one cares.
Yeah.
You got to win.
100%. Distraction. Everyone has distractions. Everyone
Yeah.
has injuries.
Yeah,
That's part of it.
Yeah.
for sure.
Sweet.
Yeah, how easily are you going to be frustrated? You know, that's a good lesson that was learned in wrestling. You know, that we take to MMA. It's like, if you are unwilling to be frustrated in competition, then you're giving yourself the best chance to win. Like, once you get frustrated, you're not on your game, no matter what it is. Who knows what's going to happen? All right, let's. I want to chat a little bit. I guess let's start off with. So, I've been working with you for a little bit now. As far as when I originally reached out to you, it was chiropractic work and stuff. But I feel like we've been doing obviously a lot more than just that. I guess for what people typically think of as chiropractic work. But we'll just start off. How did you get into what you do?
Ooh, loaded. For all, it's a deep one, but always wanted to help people. Like, fact, always wanted to help people. Just didn't know what avenue. Always into sports medicine. Was always interested. I didn't know paramedic. I mean, doctor, pediatrician. I thought of so many different things. As a little boy, the idea of Dr. Camacho was like, oh yeah, that's a title. Like, I want that. And I don't think there's anyone before me that did it in my family, to my knowledge. So I was like, all right, well, that's a dream, shoot for the stars type thing. And I was athletic training Penn State. Actually, Kale's first year, I believe. It's his first or second year. 2010 was my senior year, so that was his first year. So, like, back in the day, like, totally different coaching staff other than his brothers. His youngest brother was on the team, so it was kind of cool back then. And I just knew athletic training wasn't my long-term goal. Some stuff happened, and I ended up realizing I was made for more. And no offense to the athletic training community, but, like, I wanted something more personally. And there was a situation with a team doc that I'm not going to say names because people are still present. Something happened, and I knew the diagnosis. I looked at the athlete. I said what was going on, and they were like, okay, step aside, let the team doc evaluate. And I was like, okay. And then the guy said the same exact thing I said, and I stood there with my arms crossed like, I knew that. And no one gave a damn because I was just a student. So that irked me a little bit, where I was like, right, I want to be a sports doc. And then I talked to a chiropractic college, came to Penn State. I was getting ready for an intramural football game. Eye black and all, like, decked out. Like, literally, I went for the free Papa John's pizza, and that was it. And at the end, I walked up to this lady. She said some stuff that, like, really resonated with me. I was like, I could be a doctor. I can help people. And I can, like, do this now. I don't have to do, like, another 7 years to get in. Like, I'm capable of doing this now. And went up, spoke with her, and midway the end of my sophomore year, I started talking to this lady. The beginning of junior year, probably like a month and a half into school, I was accepted. So, like, the next year and a half, I had to just graduate, which is pretty dope. So
Wow,
that's sweet. That's fun. I feel like most, I don't know if this is correct at all, but I feel like most chiros don't come from athletic training background. I feel like a lot of them come from a different background. I don't know that. I feel like that's just a cool combination. That, I mean, I've worked with a few, but that's for my work with you, that's been unique, and I feel like that brings you a great perspective, having had a lot of experience in athletics.
It definitely helped me stand out in the beginning. Like, you go to chiropractic school, day 2, you're like hands-on patient. Like, okay, this is a spinous process, and this is a vertebrae, and, like, I've been evaluating knees and ankles and joints for years. So, like, touching a human was like, all right, where's the ligament? This is the muscle. And other people are like, wait, where is that muscle? And I was like, how do they get here and not know this? So I think it was a massive benefit. It definitely gave me a great starting point to kind of jump off of. I can't say it's not an avenue that a lot of athletic trainers would pursue. but it worked out for me. I'm not going to, I'd love my Penn State athletic training education. Like, it was awesome because that set me up for chiropractic school. And I was never like the genius of a class. I was always like the jock kid that was like in the smart kid classes. Yeah. But I was always like, I'm just here because I did good on a couple tests. And like for the first time in chiropractic school, people were like, yo, ask Ed. He knows. I'm like, you guys are asking me?
Wow.
So like that happened repetitively. And I thought, all right, this is something. This was something. So yeah, it clicked.
Nice.
Yeah, I like that. I think it's interesting too. And if you could explain it a lot better than I can right now, but I know that when Bo goes in, like you were kind of saying, like it's a chiropractic appointment, but there's also a lot more to it. Like I've seen what you've done with Ellie and even myself. Can you just go into how kind of like, what else do you do besides chiropractic at the office there for, some higher level athletes?
More, I guess, as a philosophical perspective, I guess is the proper way to answer this. Fixing a low back is quite easy because that's what you go to school to do. Like you literally go to school. This is how you fix a low back. This is the problem. This is what you do. Fixing the person is the hardest part. And I think that is something that I try to really put a lot of effort and emphasis on is learn the patient, learn the activity, learn what makes them tick. So if I know what Bo does, and I can watch video of Bo, and we have some deep conversations on, he has a little boy at home, wants to make happy and be a good role model for, has a wife he wants to provide for, has aspirations he wants to accomplish. Okay, let's dive deeper. And then you start getting to like, what really gets him out of bed? Like what really is driving this like go, 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 go? Like once you get that for everyone, you can really unlock a lot of potential for humans. And I think it's way beyond just, hey, let's fix a back or a knee or whatever. Like, let's fix the person. Let's treat them holistically, do whatever it takes. There's been times I'll give patients tissues and they cry and they walk out and I never touch them. And they don't come back. And I'm like, I don't know what happened, but I don't know. And then I see them again. They're like, yeah, ever since we last talked, I've been doing great. So in my brain, I'm like, so that person just needed to cry. They needed to just release. And I don't know. Now I just have this perspective of learn what they do, why they do it, how they do it, and then attack all three.
Yeah, I love that. And I feel like one thing that you said in the very first meeting that we had, and it's stuck with me, and it's like you talked about where are your dark corners. Like I think that works well for me specifically, and any athlete with big goals or somebody that's trying to achieve something. It's like we all have things that maybe we that are just weaknesses or areas that we're not that are not at the level that they need to be to achieve what you want to achieve. And I feel like that has really changed my perspective on not only like taking care of myself and my health, but just training in general. It's like, all right, what I don't want a weakness. I don't want a dark corner. Like how do I be real with myself and bring light to that and improve it and make it better. I feel like that's something like that's really, it hit me hard and I like a lot.
So I'll give you a great example. And I guess you guys have all seen some of the athletes that I work with. And
real quick, let's talk about, I don't mean to like make you say, you don't have to say if you don't want to, but you can talk about like what populations you work with just to give the viewers a general idea. Obviously you work with myself, you work with, other high level athletes, but specifically, you don't have names or anything.
Yeah. But. Right now there's a couple, I would just say high level wrestlers collegiately. Some are international already. Obviously fighter, now collegiate soccer to now pro soccer. A couple competitive shooters, male and female, like shooting like tactical games and rifles and pistols and stuff. Some youth, or I will say youth, but like high school age, high level baseball player, basketball, just like a triathlete female. But basically people that are motivated and have goals and want to get better now.
Right.
Because that's my brain, and no offense to patients, but I want to help you now. And if you don't want to help yourself, this is not going to work out.
Right.
So like I have a really strong fast-paced desire to like, let's go. And I think that's why I click with certain athletes is like, once I know what gets you to click, once you understand what gets me to click, it's like boom, 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 like right to the point. And I think that's exciting for me. Based on what you said before about the heart, like the highlight the dark corners. When you are, and I guess you guys would know this, when you're at the top of a certain level at a platform and something athletically, unless you dive into the comment section, no one's going to be really transparent and honest with you. Not many people in your circle are going to be like, here's a mirror and look, you suck. Or like someone last year, a year and a half ago, after the Michigan State match, it was 2 years ago actually because it was away. And like, did you see the match? How'd I do? And I was like, if there was another 30 seconds, you would have lost. And the person was like, huh? And I was like, you got lazy. You were just dodging the run. You were running around the mat. And if this kid had another 30 seconds, he would have got you. And it was probably the first time in a while that athlete heard someone honest about his performance. Outside of a coach, outside of a parent, whatever. And here's a chiropractor. He asked me an opinion. I gave him an answer. And I was honest. And I feel like if you can shine lights in dark corners of people's laziness, lack of effort, whatever the case may be, and you pull it out of them and understand that it can be treated, addressed, dealt with, fixed, corrected, etc. I mean, how are you not going to get better? How? It's physically impossible. So I think it's, someone said you can't get better if all you hear is positive news. But if you get feedback, a negative, hey, you know what? You could be a little bit better with this, or, you know, I came to the office, this wasn't really like up to par. Okay, cool. We found a weakness that we have to address. But if people are not saying that or telling you or being honest, how are we really supposed to get better with the people around us?
Right.
We don't need fan clubs.
Right.
So, I mean, I used to really care about people liking me and like, oh man, I hope they like me. Now I realize my job is not to get people to like me. My job is to help people. So I don't care what you think about me anymore. I used to.
Right.
But like at the end of the day, you're paying me to get better. Okay, let's attack this. I don't need to be your friend. Be cool, but like at the end of the day, I have a job.
Right.
So it sounds like, and you tell me if this is accurate, because this is our first time meeting, so I'm enjoying hearing your story and stuff. So the chiropractor school seemed like more of a certificate to be able to deal with the full comprehensive view of a human being. Like you started out to get into, to be able to deal with someone, but now you're looking at it from like a full perspective, it looks like, from like mind, body, and spirit. So what's the other motivation, like the philosophies, and what other drives your mentality when you talk and sit down and try to help a human being besides just adjustments and general chiropractor stuff?
Great question. I want to help people, and I realized I went to college, grad school, to learn the ability to adjust the spine and parts of the body and get licensed in doing so. As life reveals itself to everybody, we all go through trials that make us tougher, stronger, etc. And if I'm working with a high-level athlete, what they need versus a 70-year-old grandma or an 8-year-old kid with an oversized backpack and horrible posture, the needs are different. So when you start climbing this ladder of like athletic performance and performance enhancing care, you start realizing it's like a small tweak. Like we're not, okay, this is how you stand. Like, no. Like, okay, in this position, go all the way over here and now breathe. And let's train this small, minute change to your system. And I think that has created a pretty good network that has built on it. When it comes to philosophy-wise, I know what I want in my life. I know the patients that are coming in have a goal in their life. And I'm a huge fan. Teamwork makes the dream work. So if you're going to support me and come to my business and come to my establishment and support me, like literally support me, share stuff on social media and like, listen, refer me out to other people and like share me and help me build my business, I'd be a fool not to help that person in the same direction. So like, it's synergy. Like the sum of equal parts comes together for, obviously the sum of everything together from individuals is way stronger. So I have a network of patients that are really good at what they do. Great. I feel like I'm really good at what I do. So when you mesh that together and both parties are willing to put forth effort, I think it's a unique experience that patients appreciate, even parents, when they watch me interact with their child. They're like, okay, this is the guy. And then they send me their other teammates or their coaches or whatever the case may be. So I guess hopefully that answered your question a bit. But
yeah. And what outside of the schooling, what kind of research and knowledge do you like incorporate into your practice that makes you like so well rounded? Because I hear the way you work with them isn't like you're going in there and just getting adjusted. So what kind of fuels that perspective of it?
I try to be as natural to myself and follow my natural instincts of what I'm interested in. I like nutrition. I like supplementation. I like, mental hacks. How can we get the brain of someone to do something great? I like challenge. I like things that create friction. I like diving into the emotional scars that we try to avoid or overcompensate for. Like I like lifting up all those stones because I feel like it doesn't matter the person that you give me. If you lift up the right stone and you show it to them, it's like the light bulb. They're like, oh. And then like you see it in their eyes. And then like, okay. And then all of a sudden you just see this improvement of healthcare. You see this improvement of self-belief, of self-confidence, of yes, I can. And then they start realizing like the power of self-will, like, yes, I can. But, maybe that a teacher or a parent, like, no, they didn't really. So like once you start revealing that in this whole process of like exploration in healthcare, you get great outcomes.
Got it. Interesting.
Yeah, definitely. I feel like, in our time together, there's been what you see at some, typical what kind of I think what Anthony's referring to. You go into a chiropractor a lot of times. Okay, lay on the table. Here's a pop. Here's a pop. Here's a pop. All right, we'll see you later. It's like probably been 1% of what we've done. And that's something I think that, like, basically what you're saying, when you see a patient and they're coming in for treatment, they're coming in for care, you're basically just identifying their problem, their issue, what's bothering them, what they want to improve on, what they want to get better, and then tailoring the program to what you think is going to be most effective for that specific problem. So if it's like soft tissue, or if it's something's there's a muscle that's not activating when it should be, or things like that. What other things outside of the adjustments do you feel like are really important? Again, every person's going to be different, but what, like, I'm trying to think of how to word this. Activities, what, like, training modalities do you feel like you're using that are maybe different than what you would typically see from a chiropractor that's just come in, pop. All right, be on your way.
So you said that about 1% of what we did is traditional chiropractic. And from my office, in a 5 square mile radius, there's 40 chiropractors.
Wow,
that's a lot.
that's crazy.
I didn't even know
so that. I'm one of 40. So there's 39 other options.
Wow.
So if I do what 38 of those people are doing, why are you going to come to me? Like, if I don't offer some sort of value to the customer, I'm just another one. And I don't like going with the grain.
Right.
Ever.
Yeah.
So, you guys are all doing this. Cool. Don't care. I'm going that way.
Yeah.
And that's just me. I want to stand out. My office logo is not green. It's not Penn State. It says nothing about Happy Valley by design.
Right.
Modality-wise, as far as like treatments, what I'm doing that I think other people should benefit from or do more, I guess, help stand out. Eye work that we've worked with, I think, is interesting. How to look at the response and activity of the eyes, and then decision-making when it comes with that. Single leg balance, however, removing 4 of your 5 toes, putting them in a window, and only having to use the big toe while doing other activities. I think that's something that most people don't practice. Putting the body in a position that individual potentially sucks at, and then explaining why they have to get better at it for their activity, sport, goal, whatever the case may be. there's a bunch of therapies or saunas and cold plunges and lasers and red lights and cupping. Like, yeah, we can dive down all of that, but anybody could buy that on Amazon. How do you utilize the tool? Anybody could buy a tool. Anybody. But someone with a really good toolbox and a really good skill set can take a couple tools and completely change your house around.
Right.
I could buy all the tools in the world. I can only do probably 10% of what they could do. So,
yeah, that makes a lot of sense. I feel like the eye work has been really huge for me, especially in our sport where we have constantly things coming at our face. And that's something that I had never really done before. Maybe like very intermittent, like one person said, one thing where toss the balls and catch it. But it's like, I feel like we've been very diligent and working hard on that specifically, which I think is something that's very underutilized in athletics in general. Maybe baseball or certain sports that utilize that type of stuff more, but I don't think fighters would typically think of that as something that to train, when reality is that's something that we're dealing with on a regular. It's like the thing you should almost train most.
Yeah. So vision's crazy because your optic nerve is a cranial nerve. It comes right off of the brain. Most nerves come off of your spine. There's 12 nerves that come right off the brain. The optic nerve from the back of your eyeball goes right to the frontal lobe of your head. Like the frontal lobe is where decision-making happens. You take a sport where someone's getting bashed in the face with feet, gloves, pads, like that's not great for the brain. So if there's changes to the brain, we're going to see changes in the eye. And there's ways to kind of manipulate the body and figure out, okay, eye motion in this direction makes weakness in this direction. Okay, cool, great. Now let's clear that out and let's make that pattern stronger. So there's a couple ways to do things, but if you have a concussion, what are they doing? Checking your eyes. Why? Because that gives us information. So when it comes to eyes, input in gives us input out. So output. Input equals output. If your input in sucks, your output sucks as well. So if someone has horrible balance, horrible proprioception, can't really move athletically, let's look at the eyes. Let's see what we can do with the eyes, because maybe the information they're getting in are horrible. Maybe they need contacts. Maybe they need glasses. Maybe the peripheral vision sucks. Maybe their ability to look at something from far and come close is not that great. Maybe they freak out when something comes closer and the eyes start to converge. Like there's a lot of information that can be pulled from that. Now, when you take a sport like baseball, soccer, tennis, anything, ping pong, anything that's hand-eye coordination, people who have elite level hand-eye coordination, pretty athletic. So if you take a really good athlete in lacrosse and you drop him into football, he'll probably be decent. If you put him in soccer, he'll probably be decent. If you put him in MMA, he'll probably be decent. They won't be great at everything, but they'll be decent. What makes them stand out? And I would say within the last year, eyes have become very interesting to me. Neurology, brain work. And like, I'm not a pro in neurology, but I know enough about eyes and information that is not being, converted in the brain to give ideal output. So I have a patient who passed out, hit his head, eyes are all screwed up, his balance is off. It looks like you have a concussion, buddy. You supplement the concussion, you take care of the brain, you give him some direction to improve the condition of the brain, the eye symptoms improve, and the athletic performance improves. And all I did was look at the eyes. So it sounds complicated because it is, but if you just want to go from a blimp view, it's not that complicated in a big picture.
Yeah. Cool. Yeah, it's all the information that we're getting in, right? Like first off, the quantity and quality of information that we're getting in is directly correlated to how the quantity and quality of our output, how we can respond to that. So if we're not getting good information in, then what we put back isn't going to be to the standard that we need it to be.
So I have to go a quick shout out because I learned all this from a technique called Square One. And the guy's name is Sean Sherman, who's like the guy who founded it, created it. He came down to State College. We went to this place. I got a little certification. He taught me some stuff. And I was like, oh, this is interesting. And then I worked it on one concussion with a soccer athlete. Then I worked it on the second concussion with someone else. And I thought, wait a second. This information I'm getting with the eyes is kind of crazy. And then this process is kind of clearing it out quickly. And I had a soccer player, and because of legal things. I can't give everyone's name out, but he was not allowed to play soccer anymore. Penn State soccer player was basically medically retired before he wanted to because of multiple concussions. Had headaches all the time. You could see it in his eyes. His eyes were like glazed on the exam. I was like, this kid looks like he's not even here right now.
Right.
2 sessions, headache was gone. Came back and he's like, I feel great. Studying for finals has my head a little bit hurting, but he came back, I don't know, 6 months after that. And he's like, I've been doing great. I've been doing really, really well. And it made me realize, okay, we got some information from my eyes. This guy had a bunch of concussions. We did a couple things to clear that out. Now this guy has his life back. Now he's coaching soccer at a club team somewhere in Pennsylvania, but kind of crazy.
Yeah.
Kind of crazy. Like, this kid lost his ability to perform. And if I saw him months earlier, could he have played again? Wow. I don't know.
Yeah. Talk a little bit about the cranial facial stuff we've been doing, because most of the stuff that we do, like there's stuff that involves a little pain, right? Like, I said soft tissue work earlier, but soft tissue work, of course, there's going to be a little pain. But the cranial facial stuff is a real deal. It hurts, but it makes a big difference too. Immediately after when we've done that, I felt different. So I felt like that's something that's really unique and cool that I haven't seen anywhere else that I would like to hear more on.
So cranial sacral technique is basically, there's a bunch of bones in your brain or in your skull, your cranium, and the cranium is not fused. You can manipulate those bones to a degree. It's very, very small, minute movements. However, when there's a distortion in the cranium, potentially there's a distortion in function, or once again, output of what the brain can do. So we take a sport where you're getting bashed in the face all the time, and you're taking, obviously UFC fight Saturday, this guy was getting jabbed on the one side of his face over and over and over and over and over all night. And like when you saw him in the interview, like, wow, his half of his face was not barely there. So when you take that in perspective of like removing the skin, what's happening to the brain and the trauma to the actual cranium, if we treat that, what will happen to the outcome? And Kelly, a Saxon who works, she rents space in our office. I'm like, hey, Kel, can you work on me and teach me what you're doing? Because this is kind of interesting. And then I learn, and she has a booming practice, and like that's all she wants to do. She's like the best for a very long radius. And she mentored under Dan monthly.
Yeah.
It's kind of crazy. So I worked under Dan. I worked under Kelly and Dan, and now Kelly's renting space in my office. She's doing her thing. I'm doing my thing. It's like crazy full circle event. But all day she just works on people, and she has all these crazy stories of what she's doing, just touching someone's head and manipulating their head. So my favorite bone in the body is called the sphenoid bone, which looks like a butterfly, and it connects your entire cranium. Every single bone in your head is connected to this one bone. Every single bone. Nothing else like that in the body. And it is the most unique, crazy structure. So like, it's basically like you can manipulate so much of the head just by working on one bone. I told Kelly, I'm like, Kelly, I need to learn sphenoid. Just teach me nothing else. Just teach me sphenoid bone, because I was thinking about what can I do with your head. And, people always have sinus issues and headaches and migraines and all this stuff that's just chronic. You work on their face, you touch, a mandible, you touch a orbit, you touch all these different muscles, and people are like, oh, that hurts. And then obviously we have trained fingers, so I can feel stuff. I'm like, oh, that sucks, and that sucks. And I'm going to hold that there. Let's breathe. Well, breath is important. You need to incorporate breath with anything. So I find my little spots, I incorporate the breathing pattern, and I let the body do its thing. And I just sit there and talk. I put music on. I don't know, whatever, however long it takes. Until the body's receptive for the treatment, the body will start to change. And we found some cool stuff. And he didn't like it. And
I've never heard of that.
I didn't even care. I just kept going. And the next day he's like, bro, my face, I feel great, my face. And I was like, not many people have said that before, but I have a couple wrestlers that asked for me to work on their face, nose. There's a lot of tension. We hold stress on our face. We hold tension. We scrunch. We can't see. We're like squinting while we drive. Like, we're always using our face. Who works on our face? No one.
Right.
And then you go to a sport, all people do is bash in your face. So let's treat that.
Definitely.
That's cool. I've never heard of that.
It's not an uncommon thing to massage therapists. I think it's uncommon sometimes utilizing it in the way I'm trying to put it together for a patient's outcome plan.
Right.
But like, I'm not a massage therapist. I respect what they do, but I just want that. Just give me that skill,
Yeah.
that, and I will take it in a different direction.
So you kind of just pick and choose and include a full, like you do a little bit of deep tissue work, you do a little bit of manipulating the cranium, a little bit of chiropractor adjustment. So just like whatever to help the whole human
Whatever
body.
it takes.
Got
I don't
it.
care.
That's really cool.
I don't care. Like, whatever it takes. If my brain is like the grocery store, what do I need to take out of what aisle to help this person? So like, yeah, I'm kind of a nerd. I love learning about a lot of things. Me and Ronan were just talking about books. Like, he was like saying the first half of the title. I was just dropping the author on him. It was like,
Crazy.
Like, it's like, I like learning. I like information. I'm in a business where people pay me for help.
Yeah.
So if they ask me questions and I don't have a resource, a direction, or a solution, I feel like I failed the customer. So I take it very personal. If I can't help someone, I ask my wife. I'm stressed out.
Right.
Like, I'm getting text messages and athletes like, hey, my back's worse. Like, I don't know what's going on. And I'm like 12:30 on the edge of my bed. Like, what am I doing? Like, crap. What am I, like replaying everything that I did, said, and like how it happened. Because I just want to help people.
Yeah.
At the core, if I only have one thing to help everyone, I'll probably only help a couple. But if I have like a wide array of things, and like I won't say I'm an expert in one thing, but I know a lot to be dangerous in a lot of things. And I just take that information and I apply it to the best of my ability for the people that come into my office. And so far it's been working pretty well for me.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it is. And that kind of, the one thing that you said there that will, I think, perfectly segue us into what I wanted to talk about next was the fact that you're a nerd. And I didn't know this about you. Until our last session.
I know it's coming.
I didn't know this about you until our last session. And what I realized that, wow, he actually is a nerd, was when you started talking about coffee. And as soon as that got brought up, I was like, whoa. Nerd alert. Not actually nerd alert, but I love coffee. You take it to like times a million. And so that's what I want to talk about next. It seems like, you got to hear this.
All right.
This guy.
I'm interested.
Tony's a big coffee guy too.
Yeah, I don't.
He gave up on it.
Like I gave caffeine a while back,
You
but
could drink decaf. It's acceptable.
yeah,
He doesn't.
I hate myself. I hate myself when I order a decaf.
No. Words are powerful. Don't say you hate yourself.
No, when I order a decaf.
No, man. But that's what I want to talk about next, because as soon as I asked you about it, it was like, oh, yeah, talk about how you got into coffee and then what your coffee process is like. 'Cause
Oh my God. All right.
Are you coffeed up right now?
No, but I feel like I should.
Yeah.
No, I'm naturally passionate. I got energy all day. So, oh my God. I mean, it goes deep. I think I shared a story with Bo, like my first coffee maker experience. So I'll touch a little bit on that. But I was unhappy in my last job. I didn't really like what was going on. I wanted to do something different. My wife's from this area, so we came up to visit. She took me to the Rothrock because it just opened up, and I was like, oh, cool, a new coffee shop. Let's just go check it out. I'm a big BMX guy, so a bunch of BMXers open a coffee shop. I was like, oh my God, Jamie Bestwick. I was freaking out. And we came to go get coffee, and I get to the counter, and here I am, a licensed doctor. I look at the menu, and nothing on the menu says coffee. And I was like, what the hell is this? And it was like, cortado, pour over, AeroPress, chai. And I'm like, what? Like the word coffee's not even on the board. Yeah. I was like, what? So the little insecurity brain is like, okay, you're a doctor and you're dumb as hell. So I wanted to know what was going on. So I sat there and watched. I'm like, can I just get coffee? And the lady's like, yeah, sure. Well, what do you want? And I'm like, So whatever. I got a cup of coffee and it was amazing. And I thought, that tasted really good. Now the health part of me is like, is this even healthy?
Right.
So I dived down the rabbit hole. Is coffee bad for you? And I'm getting all these research articles, and I wrote a 5-page blog post on the benefits of coffee, good versus bad. Yeah. I just wanted to know. And then I got all this information. I was like, I got to tell the people. So whatever. And then, me and my wife, we were first year married, 2016. Like I said, I was unhappy with my job, told my boss I didn't want this opportunity anymore. And the week of Christmas, on a Wednesday, he was bringing everybody into this office for holiday bonuses, and I was given $100 and said, leave the key on the desk. And there was a lot deeper story to all that, but I never forgot that. Some powerful words were said that like lit a fire in me bad. And my first Merry Christmas, brand new with a wife, no Christmas tree, no money, just got let go. And I was like, well, I don't have to deal with that place anymore. So that was one positive. And we had like not a lot of money to spend for like ancillary things and gifts, etc., like outside of bills. So we made a deal. We'll just get one thing for each other. And we set a price point on it. And we went to Bed Bath & Beyond. We had this 20% off coupon. We bought a thing called an AeroPress. And I was like, wow, that's a coffee maker. I'm going to do that. And my wife gifted me this thing for Christmas. And it is still, to this day, something I can't let go of because of the story behind it. And I'm going to just avoid all the emotional parts of this whole story. But yeah, something I'll never forget. I got this new coffee maker that had meaning to me. And every day I made my coffee out of it. In the morning and at lunchtime. And I took my time. It was a process. It had a story between me and my wife. It brought us together. There was a lot of bad memories that I promised to myself I would never relive. So there was like a driving force there as well. And then coffee actually started to taste good. And I was like, wow, well, I'm going to start getting some fancy beans for myself. And, it goes down a rabbit hole. I get into espressos, and then I start trying all this stuff. And then I'm buying beans from different parts of the country and different coffee shops. And that was exciting. And then I met people who roasted coffee, and they're like, you should roast coffee. And I was like, what is that? And then they're like, you do this, and then you have your own coffee. And I was like, and I can save money. And he was like, yeah, because you're buying it whole bulk, wholesale, and it's like a couple dollars per pound. Meanwhile, I'm getting robbed, like $18 for 12-ounce bag. And I'm like, so I can get it for $3 a pound, $4 a pound, $5 a pound, or I can buy it for like $16, $17, $18, $18 for like 10, 12 ounces. I'm like, this is robbery. As much coffee as I like, this is not cool. So then I started looking into roasting, and then I got into roasting, and then I'm like, you know what? I want other ways of making coffee. So then I was, going to places. I was like, that's a coffee maker? I'm taking that. And that's a coffee maker too? That's a French press. What's a French press? I'll take the little one, that guy. And then it was like a mocha pot. And I'm like, what the hell is a mocha? And I watch a video, and I'm like, I want that. And then it was a pour over, and everyone's like, oh, pour over tastes the best. It's so crisp and, flavors and floral notes. And I'm like, that sounds delicious. I want a pour over setup. And then I got my first espresso machine, and I was just like, oh my God, Espresso Eddie. And then I was just slamming shots. And then it just
cocaine.
That's not me. But it was like, I just learned all of these ways to have beverages. I'm not a big alcohol guy. Yeah. That's not my thing. But like making someone a cup of coffee is like, if you come over, that's what I want to do.
Yeah.
Like I don't really have a bar. And like, God forbid you drink too much coffee, you poop and get everything done. If you have too much beer, alcohol, like you're screwed. Like you're fighting someone, or you can't drive.
That's right.
Or you're puking. Like pick one.
Yeah.
But like coffee had benefits. It wasn't unhealthy as long as you don't add creamer and sugar and all the other crap. There's stuff that has very high antioxidants, so there's a lot of health benefits to it. It's great for the brain. My wife read a book that basically said for a diabetic, which I'm type 1 diabetic, diabetics can reduce outcome of Alzheimer's if they drink 3 to 5 cups of coffee a day. And my wife's like, you're not drinking enough coffee. And I'm like, well, I'll be damned. So I started drinking more coffee. So there was a lot of really cool research that came out of my little nerdy rabbit hole. I found benefits for me specifically. A little deep dive. Basically, I spend a lot of money putting effort into my brain, learning information, and have a strong desire to help people. One of the fears of mine is losing my mind. Like getting one of those old people that just can't think. Just gone, just talking to himself. And I was like, that would be an absolute nightmare. So like knowing that diabetics have a higher probability of getting these plaque buildups in their brain and kind of going down that Alzheimer's, route or whatever you want to call it, Parkinson's, et cetera. Like there's a lot of different neurogenic diseases that can be attributed to irregular balance of blood sugar. So I was like, all right, I got to keep my blood sugar in check. I got to drink more coffee, and I need to protect this brain. And that became a very important thing to me. So I drank more coffee. I kept learning, and I just wanted to minimize any effect possible of diabetes creating complications down the road. And once I found coffee was an option, game over.
That's a good option. Yeah.
Game over.
Definitely.
I was going to say, so no Keurig coffee for you?
Oh, hell no. Hell no. No. If it's a push button and it's going through hot plastic, I'm not drinking it. It's no offense.
Happy I didn't offer you coffee.
Yeah, it's not my thing.
Ronan's actually never had coffee that's not Keurig. He's young, so Keurigs were invented, right around the time he started drinking coffee.
I've literally only ever drank Keurig coffee at my house.
You don't even know what coffee tastes like.
Our favorite move. We don't do it. We do it differently
once
now.
in a while. We do it. Yeah.
Nice big Italian meal.
With an espresso at the end.
Yeah, it's nice espresso. And there's a new thing we found. Have you ever had a sidecar?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, so classy. A little seltzer water next to it. It's just
Yeah.
Yeah. No. So
We were introduced
Bringing
to
me
that.
back.
in
the
Miami.
seltzer is to cleanse your palate.
yeah.
So
Right.
basically, I didn't know that. I'm like, I don't like bubble water. Why do they keep giving me bubble water? I just want the freaking espresso. And it turned out I went to this coffee shop in Philly. I think they're called Functional Labs. They were legit. And he gave me like this big bowl. It was like literally like a soup bowl with like an espresso shot in it. And he gave me a small little piece of celery and then this small little shot of bubble water.
Interesting.
And I'm like, what is this?
Yeah.
You gave me a soup bowl, a little bit of brown liquid in the bottom, a piece of celery. So I'm like having vegetables with bubble water and like a really undersized soup. Like it was really confusing. And the guy was like, just let me walk you through the process. I was like, all right, I'm in. And he gave me the celery and I forget which came first, but one was to cleanse the palate and then one was to prepare the palate.
Interesting.
And then
They're really going hard
and then
with
the cup, this soup bowl, honestly, like a fish bowl, like it covered your face. So like when I went to go sip it, I'm like it's going like to my eyes. And he's like, yeah, that's to incorporate the nostrils so that you
for
can
the
smell and increase this taste flavor profile. I'm like, this is intense.
Wow.
So I sat there, I was nerding out, caffeinated off, you know what, and I'm sitting there like with my face in this bowl, like. Oh man, this does smell good. And I'm like, oh, this does taste good. And he's like, you're gonna taste floral notes and it's gonna switch to like a little bit of a chocolate. And I'm like, oh my God, I get it. And like I was brought through this process of like understanding the complexity of a palate. The same way someone who's into beer, whiskey, wine, they like swirl it, they look at it, they smell it, they put it to the light. It's the same thing with coffee.
Yeah.
It's just my choice. And like I was telling Bo last week, it's my yin and yang balance. I'm like deep end diving, bottom of the deep end pool when it comes to like my work. And my yin and yang balance is like, I need something equal that takes me completely away from work so I have some sort of sanity. Because I'm clearly crazy. Like, I am not caffeinated in a long time. I'm high energy like this all day. Ask any patient or staff member. And coffee, like that deep dive into that field of never-ending bullet hole that just keeps going forever. It's my balance.
Yeah.
It's my zen. So like my morning routine is a process. I heat up my water to a certain degree temperature. I take distilled water. I add my own minerals to make my own flavor profile of what type of water I want, whether it's espresso or pour over or AeroPress, just because I can and I know how and I want to. And then like I sit there and I put on the fireplace and I make my coffee and like I have a timer going, I have a scale, everything's weighed out, grind perfectly, roasted 7 days before, like everything is to a T. And if something comes out wrong, I'm like, all right, I messed up that part of the process because it's just a science project. And if it tastes a certain way, you know where it came from. So like if Bo gets some meat that's like overcooked, he's like, oh crap, I left it on too long, temperature,
Right.
like
Doesn't
he knows.
happen, actually. I've never messed up.
He's
before,
never done that. But like once you understand the process of how something's created, you can create it and recreate it to your liking. So I know what I like. I roast it a certain way, I grind it a certain way, I use a certain water temperature, and I have a certain ratio of how much coffee to water I drink because I want a certain type of concentration. Like everything is systemized. So my morning starts with like this 7-minute science project where I'm like, Dexter's laboratory, like mixing things and weighing and checking my watch and timers going, and it's wild.
Yeah.
Bo enjoyed it.
Yeah. That's
And I was like, wait. I'm on an Instagram page and I see a page I follow, and I'm like, Bo Nickal follows this also. And no one else I know follows it. The only person is Bo. I'm like, this guy's into coffee.
Yeah, I was explaining to him. So for me, if I'm going to get into something, it's like a long process of contemplation and consideration before I actually pull the trigger. Usually take like 6 months to a year. So that's how it was for archery and hunting. So I took 6 months to a year, and I was like, just following some Instagram accounts, seeing some content, thinking about it in my head, trying to decide like, am I gonna really go for this or what? And I've done it with a few things, but the one that's stuck for me has been archery hunting, bow hunting. And so I've been diving down the coffee rabbit hole a little bit, trying to decide if I'm gonna go all in on it.
It's dangerous. That's all I'm gonna say.
It's an interesting world.
Yeah,
it's fun.
Oh, it is. It's super interesting.
Yeah,
it's interesting too. Like I was just talking about the content when you see people make videos of it and stuff, and it's exactly what you said. There's so much that goes into the little cup.
Yeah,
it's like this is a little cup, and there's so much that goes into that. Like I love the fact that you even roast your own beans. That's the cool to me.
Yeah.
Out of the whole process, that's like the coolest part.
Well, I mean, if you're gonna be religious in something like that, why not like dial in every
All the
detail?
way.
Like that's how I would be too.
Exactly.
Time out. I'm talking to 2 NCAA champs. You have a trophy right there above my head. You look at that, and the ring's right there on the table. You look at that, and you just say, "It's all this effort for one cup, and it's amazing." Time out. Like, let's just flip the script and put the mirror on you guys. Like, when you hold something, or you look at a photo, or you hold a ring, or you have a medal, whatever it is, the effort that it took for what? I don't know, 90% of your life?
Right.
So it makes it sweet.
For an outcome?
Yeah, yeah.
It's worth it.
Yeah.
Definitely.
So, like,
100%.
when you do that much for something of your own, the experience, it doesn't matter what anyone thinks. I don't care. But, like, you have a memory that no one can ever take away from you.
Right.
And you've also been able to recreate it.
Right.
And if you can recreate some of your favorite moments, why would you not relive it?
Right. And I love that you said too, like, when somebody comes over or that's like, that's what you want to share with them. Like share that experience, right? Like you've put so much time and effort into getting to know all of these things to make your finely crafted like process and then you want to like enjoy it with other people. I think that's such a cool thing. I love that.
And you get to do it every morning.
Tony's like so jealous right now. He's so mad.
If you like decaf, just stick with Colombian.
No, I don't
coffee.
even do decaf anymore either because
nothing.
The first sip would like get me happy and then I'd be like, what am I doing? Like I'd rather not have anything. So now I created a drink.
Yeah, he has his own drink. It's good.
Yeah, it's good.
It's called the Tony.
Yeah, it's hot water with lemon and honey. I put like a bunch of lemon and a bunch of honey, and it's good. Like you sip on it, it makes you feel warm, but it's not that freaking dialed in.
That's not making me feel warm at all.
Oh man, it's nice. Like so, I'll say I like the Tony when I want to just like it settles me.
The post dinner like
is it good for before bed? Because that's what I would drink.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It seems like it's calm.
Trust me, I'm not comparing it.
It's like
it's just
one of those things
that you convince yourself is.
Are you doing it just for fight prep?
It's just like I like to have something like the ritual is. I don't have like the morning ritual of doing it anymore, but it's nice to like have something after dinner or like even when I go home. It is very similar to like the alcohol culture. Like when I go home, my siblings would be like, "Yo, like drinks tomorrow." Like obviously not to me, but like, "Yo, drinks tomorrow." And then in the same time, it's like coffees when we wake up. It's like it's like same kind of ritual. So, but it's like the alternative to the numerous negative effects of drinking. So it's funny how like they're similar in that way. And then also like diving into, like you said, a lot of people dive into the minute details of like the beer or the whiskey and like they get obsessed with it. And it's the same way with like the science of making a cup of coffee. So it's all just pleasures that I like to see other people enjoying.
I'm glad you were able to entertain you guys. That's awesome.
I think this is a good segue into how I kind of wanted to close this out. So you were saying like how coffee is kind of like it's the first thing you do in the morning. And I think that a lot of people have a misconception about like meditation nowadays. Like everyone thinks that you have to cross your legs and kind of like hold your fingers in a certain way, breathe a certain way. But there's also like other things, like you were saying, like your cup of coffee. How important is that to try and maybe have like one thing in your day to just focus on literally like you are making coffee? Like that's the only thing I have to worry about right now. How important is that for like someone to kind of take that moment in their everyday life?
That's an emotional scar right there. I learned that from losing friends. Like my wife and I, we've lost friends. Actually, one of my kids I used to wrestle with when I was in high school, which why I stopped wrestling in high school. But like, yeah, people die, and like that's real. And when your friends pass away when you're young, that's hard because you don't really know how to process that.
Right.
And then, you know, I have a buddy who passed before he got his driver's license, never went to prom, never graduated. Like, he didn't have a senior year. So you start realizing this person's not here. And then you're like, oh, I'm only 16. And then like, now I'm 17, and this person passed. And now I'm 18, this person passed. And you're like, wow, this stuff happens fast. Like, people are gone. And unfortunately, I've had a lot of that at a very young age that has always put this reverse clock. Ever since I was 16, December 23rd, like, there's always, ever since that moment, there's been a reverse clock on my life where I feel like, okay, you don't have time for shit at all. So it's like, okay, I have aspirations, goals that I want to do. There's things I want to accomplish. And once you see the people standing next to you start dropping, you start to get that, oh crap. And one of the things me and my wife went through some grief counseling for after we lost a friend was we agreed to each other that every day to take a moment for ourselves because of the importance of, one, just finding some sort of stability in your own mind and finding something that you enjoy every day for yourself. Because at some point it ends for everyone. And if you don't do something for yourself that you enjoy every day that's meaningful, is someone else going to do it for you? Because I don't think so.
Right.
If you don't take the ownership and like, you know what? I need my 4 minutes because coffee for me doesn't last very long. These like double walled thermos cups, waste of time. Just like doesn't waste of time. But it's very important for me to have a moment. And sometimes now with kids, like once everyone goes to bed, okay, this is my moment. Sometimes my daughter wakes up before me and she's crying for a bottle. I'm like, all right, well, now I'm rushing my coffee process just to get the caffeine in so I can go back upstairs and go change a diaper or whatever. So either way, whether it's in the morning, at my lunch, or at night, every day I try to do something that's either enjoyable or fulfilling to just my soul. Because I think that's important for me to, one, close out the day, but make sure that I did something for me. And I think when you do that repetitively, you just create a healthier individual that can then pour over and kind of bless others around you.
Like that.
So that's kind of how I approach it, but it's all deep rooted from losing people that I care about and people that I love and miss. So, you know, when it happens when you're young, you start looking at things differently, you start walking differently, and you start thinking, how am I spending my time? And that has been a game changer for me.
Wow.
Well, I know we all really appreciate you coming on. Appreciate you sharing. You got anything else, Ronan?
No.
But
I think it's a good way to wrap it up.
Yeah, definitely. You know, great conversation. Our third guest ever. But Dr. Camacho, tell all the viewers and guests where they can follow you and stuff, and where you're located, where you're at.
So, office is Summit Chiropractic and Wellness, which is in State College. Instagram is Dr. spelt out _ Camacho, Camacho. And like Deion Sanders says, I ain't hard to find.
Come find him. All righty. Well, again, appreciate you coming on. Appreciate you taking some time.
Thank you.
Appreciate it, guys.
It was
Thank
awesome.
you very much.
Awesome.
Appreciate it.
See y'all.
Peace.
Hi, Mom.